The Conviction Arc is fittingly titled as the third major arc in Berserk. Conviction, defined as a firmly held belief or opinion, is the central theme explored here. Strongly held convictions amongst every party involved in the Tower of Conviction clash, resulting in a rebirth of a new world. So let's discuss the importance of conviction and what it meant for both new and old characters involved in this tale, starting off with our favorite struggler, Guts. Cracks in the Blade dissects and divulges the biggest flaw in Guts' quest to seek vengeance against Griffith. It's meaningless.
Are you f***ing dumb?
Sure, he's taken out plenty of apostles and demons along the way, indirectly helping out those dealing with ex-apostle. However, it never surmounted to anything substantial for the God Hand to ever notice, or even worse, care. When Godo converts with Guts, he quickly points out that the thing about hatred, it's the place where people who can't look sorrow in the eye without wavering run off to. If Guts were to continue this tumultuous path, his heart, much like his blade, will crack, bleeding out what little humanity he has left. Lost Children explored this theme further, displaying his mental sanity gravely endangered. Godo's words were so profound, I'm embarrassed for not noticing the heavy burden Guts has placed on himself sooner. Kentaro Miura's hero's tale isn't about Guts taking down Griffith and saving the world, but rather a tale about how one must reflect on their actions and prioritize what truly is important to them. While revenge was merely a way for Guts to cope with his own emotional pain, his 2-year journey was probably better spent healing with the person who needed him the most, Casca. While Guts developed a newfound conviction through Casca once more, I am a bit worried with what that black beast in the cave was trying to foreshadow. Conviction and religion. If you consider yourself religious, one may find comfort in faith and the practices involved with it. However, the dangerous nuances devoting yourself blindly to faith is dangerously explored here, and the results aren't pretty. The herd mentality amongst the villagers betraying each other to live another day can't be faulted. Can you really blame Nina's if you can't beat them, join them philosophy if you were in her shoes too? She still sucked though, literally. Father Mozgus. Ah yes, the fanatical, religious, zealous archetype you just love to hate. He acts as a judge for God, purging anyone who isn't fit into his definition of an ideal world. The egg-shaped apostle, which we'll discuss in a minute, granted him powers appearing angelic on the outside and the insidious monster he truly was on the inside. What's fascinating about Mozgus is the absolute conviction he holds himself as a divine prophet. This is explored briefly in the Plague Doctor's backstory, being given a second chance at life, finding true purpose courtesy of Mozgus. Although I was a bit confused as to why he decided to help and offer strength to his entourage of torturer mad lads, but not any of the sick, dying, and starved villagers within the Tower of Conviction. Blindly following faith and not question the moral and ethics applied within the Conviction Arc perhaps is the double-edged sword and point Miura was depicting in Father Mozgus' character in a nutshell. The moments leading up to his defeat as a fallen angel on fire had some nice metaphorical tones to it, and shout out to Father Mozgus whipping out that One Piece Gomu Gomu no Mi abilities on Guts. Or should I really say the human fruit One Piece chapter 1044 was hype? Lady Farnese. This woman is an onion layered with deep-seated issues. She came from wealth and was neglected by her parents who showered her with materialistic love than actual paternal love. In her room, she had a window view with VIP seats to Heretic Burning City. Jokes aside, any kid growing up with the fear and cries of people being burned alive is going to cause some trauma. It didn't help that to mend this fear, it became a sort of twisted warmth for her that participating in burning the people would make her feel alive, or as is presented in her backstory, a marvelous burning in her underbelly. Farnese's conviction was so profound in that regard that anyone who opposed it was considered heretics themselves or non-existent. Seriously, she couldn't even comprehend that Puck was a literal being, or strangely enough, even when the evil spirits possessed the dogs, and oh my god, the horse, Mr. Horse, that panel is forever etched into my eyeballs. What the hell? Even if her character was painstakingly slow and required tons and tons of literal monsters to appear right in front of her to change, her character arc was one I found myself enjoying thoroughly. Conviction and purpose. The egg-shaped apostle was the true puppeteer stringing along the events to hatch the perfect world. Prior to his sinister plan, this individual was an ordinary person, or rather a nobody buried in oblivion. He encounters the 5 angels, had an epiphany understanding the world he was living in, filled him with intense fear, anger, and sadness. From his perspective, you can almost sympathize with the poor soul. Although I'm sure touching some grass and getting laid would have made him appreciate the good, but I digress. What's fascinating about this apostle is that he wasn't granted powers to become a strong being in the ways the Count, Jill, and every other apostle desired it. As a matter of fact, his conviction was finding purpose, resulting in the transformation of a literal crimson bailet, allowing him to usher in a new world. Now, what I wanted to ask you, was picking up Guts and Casca's child part of the causality or not? The Skull Knight mentioned unforeseen events coming forth from the birth of this new world, yet I can't help but ask, is this unforeseen event Dr. Eggman picking up the fetus child, or something else entirely? Over the course of the Conviction Arc, one of the things Guts allowed back into his life was the companionship of forming a team, even if it was put together indirectly. Yet the results saved his life and Casca's on numerous occasions, so let's talk about the ones who stood out to me the most. Isidro represents the innocence and boisterous nature a child in Berserk can still have. Puck mentioned that without him, this story would be in fact way too dark. Add Isidro to the mix and what we get is a comedic dynamic duo. More lightheartedness into Berserk is a nice welcome addition. However, does it break the immersion or tension for you knowing this comedic screen presence will shield Isidro in more than one instance? Regardless, I'm looking forward to seeing what his character can contribute to Guts and the rest of the group going forward. Serpico. Now, I don't need to explain myself here, but any anime and manga character who opens their eyes when they get serious are ones you need to watch out for always. His tactical approach, squaring off against Guts in that steep hill, was brilliant. His swift blade and attacks are very reminiscent to that of Griffith, and I honestly can't wait to see his dynamic with Guts blossom. For Guts to reflect upon his actions and prioritize what truly is important going forward is extraordinary character development for his character living in a bleak world. In Berserk, every single event is necessary in a world bound by causality, and there's nothing you can do to change it. Just as people sought reasons for their problems in the Tower of Conviction, the refugees sought a savior, which, well, wouldn't you know, Griffith is back. But while you wait for my Millennium Falcon arc video, you should, well, wouldn't you know, Griffith is back, and boy do I have plenty of thoughts about him in this next video, which you can click right here.